Now last year was our first year farming from scratch. I bought 50 acres, an old tractor, and planted my first crop. This year we'll be planting beans, as well as some oats and alfalfa. Like always, at the end we'll go over how much we made from farming and from this YouTube channel. Now before we get into our second year of farming, I want to give you guys some context into how we got started our first year. And last year's video right now is at like 7 million views, and I did a really bad job of showing people how I started and got a bunch of comments asking, which totally makes sense because I had like a $40,000 down payment on the land. I bought the tractor, that's not cheap. So I want to kind of show what led up to that and how I got to this point. Going back to 2017, I was in high school and I started a YouTube channel where I played a game called Farming Simulator. Those videos were anywhere from 10 minutes to 30 minutes long. I would say the average viewer is somewhere from 6 to 18 years old and they're interested in farming. And so people didn't grow up on a farm. One way they kind of get into it is by playing Farming Simulator. It started to get some more traction over a couple months, and then a few months in, I made like $1,000 a month. And being 16 years old, playing sports, having a part-time job and going to school, and at night have a side gig and make $1,000 a month, that was pretty awesome to me. And so I started posting more and more videos. Fast forward, it's 2018, 2019, I'm a freshman in college, and now I'm taking it way more seriously. I'm posting a video about every day. I went to school for finance and economics. I didn't play sports in college or anything, so I had some time on weekends and nights. Around this time I hit 100,000 subs. Didn't go out and buy a brand new car, didn't take out any debt, just tried to keep as much savings as I can. And then in 2019, I have a whole video about this. I took a chunk of my savings, put it for a down payment on a house in the college town I was living at. And then that summer, going into my sophomore year, I fixed it all up, did a bunch of stuff to it while still making YouTube videos. So that was my first big investment I ever did. I lived in one room, rented out the others while going into college. And then come 2022, I graduated and I sold the house. That had some profit with it, and then I rolled some of that into the farmland that I bought. Now, long story short, you could say I was virtual farming, the YouTube channel, playing Farming Simulator, took some of those earnings, and then started real farming. There's obviously a lot of other stuff I did between 2017 and today, but that's just big picture. And now we're gonna get into year 2 of farming. Last year it was all corn. This year we're gonna switch things up, plant 3 different crops: soybeans, oats, and alfalfa. So behind me is 6 acres. It's a nice kind of rectangle field, straight edges. And I'm thinking about putting this into alfalfa. We got the disc hooked up to the 40/20. We're just kind of figuring out how deep we want to go. The idea with the disc is slice up some of this residue. Then I have a chisel plow to try and turn it over, and then let that rain, let it freeze a couple more times. It's currently March 19th. Now the goal here is to get this field of corn stalks looking like this in a couple months. And in order to get it nice and green, we're going to need good seed to soil contact to let those oats and alfalfa seeds germinate. Now I'm borrowing my brother's big tractor and a neighbor's 3-point chisel plow to do this. In a perfect world, I would have done some fall tillage here, and we're doing this all in the spring because I made up my mind last second. Now this is about 11 acres behind me roughly. So again, same process. We're gonna disc it with the 40/20. We're just pulling it really slow, not even really running it that hard. Trying to slice some of the corn stalks. Then I'll come with the chisel plow. Now shout out to Grant for letting me borrow his tractor here. I want to take a minute and tell you guys about Grant's mobile game he built over the past few years. American Farming has now been live for a year. He's worked super hard on it, and there's a bunch of new updates, from truck packs to doing hay in the game. There's old school trucks that roll coal. There have been a lot of changes since the release of last year, so make sure to check it out. There will be a link in the description. And to get a better idea of the field layout, this is the 5-acre rectangle field I was talking about we started on first, and then this is the 10-acre field. So it should be pretty nice for hay because we won't have to turn around as much given the shape. And the 30 acres over here we're going to do to soybeans. So this total is just around 50, and we'll have 15 total acres in oats and alfalfa this year. Today we're going to be seeding in some alfalfa. That's what these bags are for. And then we have oats as well. So the idea is with the oats, we're going to do a light rate. So probably a third of what somebody would normally plant. And we're going to spread the oats, just broadcast it, work it in a little bit with a field finisher, and then come back with a 3-point seeder and come in with and seed the alfalfa. So we chisel plowed this about 2 weeks ago now and got quite a bit of rain on it. And I just want it to dry out so we don't do any extra compaction. And we'll come through with the soil finisher, probably one pass before we broadcast and then one more to incorporate the oats. We still got a lot of residue here. That's probably, I don't know, just the main concern. We'll see how it looks after the soil finisher. And that's what it looks like. Super tiny, super small seeds. All right, I got this disengaged. There we could see, it's hard to tell, but then we got it set to about 12. We're going for about 20 pounds to the acre. Before we seed the oats and alfalfa, we used my brother's tractor and soil finisher to break up and level the ground. My neighbor helped a bunch by broadcasting the oats with his fertilizer spreader and tractor. Also, I'm borrowing their seeder in 40/20, which saved me a ton of time and headache instead of trying to find a drill of some sorts to do this. And there's all the seeds. So I think that's 7-inch spacing. Again, this is my first time doing it, so the neighbor, Bryce, when he gets back, he can tell me if I'm doing it wrong or right, which is nice. Very nice having people who know what they're doing around here. We got a long ways to go, and the sun isn't very high up. I could probably bump up the speed a little bit. The hardest part was staying on my line with the corn residue. It made it difficult to see my passes at times. Now the seeder is 10 foot wide and has a cold packer in the front and the rear. The ground was a bit wet in spots and you could see the tires were leaving tracks in the field, making it a bit rougher than I would like. Now if we can get a good stand, this will be in hay for 3 to 4 years, so it's important to do the best job we can. We ran out of seed and I don't know exactly where, so we'll figure it out. We finished up the next morning on the 10-acre field, April 6th, so we didn't miss out too much on good growing days, and rain is in the forecast. Now it's the next week, April 12th, and we got an early planting window here to get soybeans in. So far we planted 15 acres of the oats and alfalfa, and we have the 30 acres that we're going to do to soybeans. The 30 acres I had in corn last year now connects to Grant's field after we pulled the old fence line out. Unfortunately, I was out of town this week when this window came up, and he'll be planting into the corn stalks from last year without me.
Okay, it's showing I wasn't planting. There's a bean. There's a bean. There's a couple of rows we're not finding any beans. So this is why you always load it with just a few beans when you first start planting. So something wrong with row 10 here. Hopefully you don't. I'll probably just back up over here. It was just a seed plate that wasn't on properly. That's all it was. Our depth might be a little too deep. We're gonna keep moving a little bit, try a couple different areas before we change depth. We're empty. We can now fill with bulk because we got all the bugs sorted out. Let's roll. We are rolling on planting. This is awesome. Being able to farm this farm with like 3/4 mile long rows. I don't think I've ever done 3/4 mile long rows. But my guess row, I don't know why. I can't just let it go. It seems like it's off 1 or 2 inches. I'm trying to dial this thing in. Things are going good. I think I'm gonna call it. Usually I love planting until like 2 a.m. when the rain's coming, like that's awesome. We've got 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, of 80-degree weather. and it's gonna be beautiful, sunny. I'm just gonna call it quits at 8:30 and just get up tomorrow morning and plant the rest of it. Enjoy the day. Okay, we are rolling on bean planting. I think I figured out my issue. The planter pulls to the left. That planter is not squared. And it's pulling to the left. I've never seen a planter, I don't remember this planter pulling to the left that hard. I think we kind of found our issue, but our issue is why is the planter pulling to the left too? So I gotta double check a couple things, make sure all of our settings on down pressure, row cleaners are all the same on the left side. But this is my check. I've got the row marker out there, and I'm just checking to make sure my mark on the tractor is right down the center of this line. And then once I think it's good to go, I'm just gonna lift up the markers and we're gonna plant with GPS. But I think I figured out this planter. I am pretty aggressive with my row cleaners. I don't know if it's right to be this aggressive. I like it for soybeans because it leaves a nice black strip and it's gonna warm up good on early soybeans. But maybe I'm a bit crazy with how aggressive I am here. Something's wrong here. Let's see what's wrong. Basically, it stopped planting, and look back at the transmission, the wheel's not spinning. And it's free. It's free. That means we probably got a chain broken. I thought we had something worse going on. Really, it's just a shear bolt that lines up right through here, which I'm not sure why we sheared that shear bolt. That's not a good thing. But at least it was a shear bolt and it wasn't like the transmission or something else gone wrong. So we just need something to stick in there, and I should probably get the appropriate shear bolt for it and not something else in case there are bigger issues with this planter. Got the shear bolt back on. I'm hoping something else major isn't wrong with the drive transmission that it sheared the shear bolt. Here we go, the last pass. Should be good as long as rows 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. Don't run out of seed. And perfect. Done. Okay, we are done. We were so close on seed. Now here's the soybeans that are just coming out. These were planted 2 weeks ago on April 13th, so pretty early planting, at least in this area. And yeah, they're just coming out. Certain spots where there's not as much residue, or they weren't as deep, they're poking through. So this field will be all soybeans. Planted this into lightly disked corn stalks in the fall.
Now here's 1 week later, after even more rain. This is the bottom of Grant's new field that ponded up. Now one big positive to all the rains is you can see the areas where water sits in spots that we can improve in the future, possibly with tile. The waterway on my 30 acres is coming in nicely, especially after last year's tile repair job we did when the main clogged up. It's just under 1 acre, so it'd be cool to make hay off it in the future. Now this is a week later and things are starting to dry out. I got some weed patches of field horsetail. In my understanding, it's a pretty tough weed to kill due to its leaf surface area being so small. And now this is what the beans look like today, early June. The waterway is really thick after some rains, and there will be some bare drowned out spots in the field for sure. And this is what the shape of the field looks like now after pulling the fence line. It totals 68 acres. The north part is my 30 acres in the South Grants, 5 being in grass. So this year I got 15 acres in alfalfa/oats and 30 in soybeans. We'll hope for a good weather and no hail. It's now mid-June, our soybean field's going strong, and our new oat and alfalfa field is ready for its first cutting. With oats being the nurse crop to the alfalfa, the majority of it is going to be oats. We'll make small square bales and large round bales to feed the cows and horses. Now, I had a big surgery a week or two before this, so I'm going to be limited for most of the summer. It wasn't farming related. It was from years past. Me playing sports must have hurt it. The hope is I'll be good to go by this fall for harvest. Now it's June 15th, and this is what the oats look like. Some are starting to head out, and the seeds are starting to show. Some are way more behind. The alfalfa stand is not that good. It's fairly inconsistent. We'll see what the stand looks like after we cut this. It grows back. Maybe I should come in and try and no-till some seed in here, because if you're going to do it, you got to do it the first year.
Oh, keep going. Good, you're there.
Hey Spence, what are you going to be doing this year while we're stacking the hay bales?
I'm practicing for next year. Since I can't help, I hurt my knee. American Farming just came out with a new update where you can square bale in the game. You can do large round bales, all that stuff. So I guess I'll be practicing for next year on my phone. You can now make small square bales just like I am in the video with the free game update.
Everybody knows my name, and my friends are still the same.
Today's Sunday, we have Monday, and then Tuesday late afternoon into the evening it's going to start raining. But we have 90-degree highs and about 20 to 30 mile an hour wind gusts here. So this stuff's going to dry out really fast. But I like how the sickle bar is cutting. There's not too much alfalfa down here, unfortunately. This 10 acres is pretty rough. There's spots that are really good, but overall the field's, I would say, poor stand. When you do like a 1 square by 1 square and count how many alfalfa plants there are, it's so inconsistent. So now this is the 5 acres, and this looks so much better in terms of the alfalfa stand. There's so many more plants. Look into here, you can see how much more is in here. This was way better seed to soil contact and better planting conditions. And over here the oats are so much more even and thicker, and it'll be really good that we're cutting it now so the alfalfa can come up. And we set the sickle bar to be cutting probably that high, so you don't want to cut too low with this. There's no point. Grant's flying. Grant knocked out the 5 acres real quick, then started on the waterway in the bean field. The grass was really thick and also a windy day, so the sickle bar didn't cut the best. It'll bunch up and trip, but we got it cut in the end, even though it didn't look too pretty. Grant's got a bottom triangle patch, about 4 to 5 acres, that he tried to cut as well, but it was even thicker than the waterway, and the sickle bar was plugging up. So we left that, and we'll come back for it another time. Now, in a perfect world, I would have waited a couple more weeks to cut the oats and alfalfa. They had a little bit more to grow, but the forecast looked like there was a little window here to cut, dry down, and bale. Then there was going to be 10 days of off and on rain. And so I decided that was going to be a good opportunity to come in with a drill to put in some more alfalfa and grass mix in the bare spots. So we borrowed a neighbor's planting setup. The nice part was the tractor has GPS, so we were able to see the passes we already did and know where to go and where not to. The drill was 10 feet wide. It was a no-till drill. We threw in some Versagrass mix as well with the alfalfa to help fill in the poor stand. Now, prior to that, we borrowed a neighbor's wheel rake, and we got some windrows made up. It wasn't very thick, so it dried pretty quick, but it still wasn't too good of conditions, and we had rain coming a day earlier than I thought. So as we were hustling to get done seeding, the neighbor also came over with his round baler and got those windrows picked up. Well, we got pretty lucky, and you can see it's raining off in the distance a few miles away. We got all the work done, seeds in the ground, and bales were made before it started to rain. Now, the bales weren't totally dry, and they were a bit wet, so they probably weren't going to store good over the long term. So the neighbor came, picked them up with the loader and trailer, and I think we filled about his trailer with, I want to say 8 or 10 bales. So that worked out good, and he was able to feed them to his cattle. Now we got some time between hay cuttings to work on Grant's combine and get it ready for soybean and corn harvest this year. It's a 2006 model. It's got about 1,450 separator hours and 2,100 total engine hours. He bought this about 3-4 years ago. We don't farm very many acres, so haven't put too many hours on it, but we've just kind of done routine maintenance. And there's a few wear parts that we need to replace here. And we found some broken pieces on the corn head as well. So Grant's driving over now to our neighbor Bryce, who is a former deer mechanic. So he'll be an expert and help us lead us through the project.
It's been a while since I've been in the combine. I gotta figure out where all these lights are. We got the hazards there. So we're gonna get the corn head hooked up here and we're gonna run it, and Bryce is gonna kind of see what he thinks is wrong here with this. I guess. Oh. Now I feel stupid because I felt like we looked at this tons of times. The row that was plugging up a ton was, I gotta look back at footage, but I think it was row 3 or something like that.
Yeah. Oh no, baby, don't do it. Sometimes you gotta sing to her.
When you're running it last year and you're finishing up and you're clanging and banging, that's obviously that's it, because what was clanging and banging was probably your roll.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Bryce diagnosed all the issues with the corn head, and first thing to do is get this outside row fixed.
It's supposed to be threaded all the way through there.
Good. Everything came out.
Those ones, yeah.
Bryce got this pulled off, so that's the good one. And then that way we don't have to get a whole new thing. We'll get a new shaft with threads and new seals. It didn't turn as good too. This one turns really nice.
Bryce got the unit rebuilt and a new rod installed, so now the roller won't be banging around and actually feed the corn head correctly. They got everything tightened down and installed gathering chains and tightened to the proper specs. Now it wasn't until later that we actually saw the reason why the roller shaft broke in the first place.
So we didn't see these U-bolt brackets right here. Should be one right there, and that's probably why this whole entire thing broke off. We need to get one of those right there and fix that bolt probably. So this thing was flapping around when we turned it on. Okay, I see. So this thing's hanging on by one out of 4 bolts. All right, we got one of them off, so hopefully we can get some more. Got the forklift, taking some weight off, it helps. Now the whole unit will stay and not break off again. That was probably our issue.
Next up on the corn head is row 3 slip clutch. It was going out last harvest, and that's why we had all that bunching up. Here you can see what a bad one looks like versus a brand new slip clutch. The bad part is we have to take the whole entire corn head drive shaft out just to get to and replace that one unit. All right, this is the end of the shaft right here. We're gonna pull it out and it'll probably hit the wall. Put the bolt back in a loop and then we'll pull. I'll go take a look real quick. So that's the bar we're sliding. We slid it. It was all the way down there. We slid it through. This is the shaft we're pulling out. There we go. Yeah, you can go some more if you want. It probably wouldn't hurt, but it's good too. There you go. You're good. So then this is what we're gonna take off. So this is what a normal slip clutch should look like. You see the alligator teeth coming together. It's nice and groove, and then on this one you can see the teeth are all worn out and they're actually not interlocked. And so it might have been because this bolt was broken, Bryce was saying, so it wasn't squeezing, the spring wasn't like suction tight enough. Now my understanding is the slip clutch's job is to save the expensive gearbox in the roll unit when, say, a rock gets jammed between the rollers, the slip clutch teeth disengage and the gearbox stops from being stripped out. Now with this clutch being worn out and rounded off, whenever we got into just moderately strong corn stalks, the roll unit and rollers would stop spinning because the force it took to grab these corn stalks and pull them down was greater than the spring tension from the worn out clutch. So the gearbox would also stop spinning and feeding the head, so then we'd plug up the whole row and have to stop the combine. So now it's time to get it replaced. So yeah, one of these bolts must have sheared off and broke. So that guy can come on there. Nice.
There we go. There should be a washer and a spacer in there.
Spacer fell between the
I got the spacer. Yeah, and you see that star that sits on there? That's what goes on that. What does all your slipping is this.
Gotcha.
That just gets that.
And that paint not being green right there is it got hot.
Because it got hot. Yeah.
Dang. Like something like that could start a fire maybe. Or,
if you got, especially on a
bunch of
chopping head,
yeah.
or if you're out in dry, really dry stocks,
it just gets on the ground.
it's hot.
Yeah.
Or if it'll sometimes they throw sparks.
Yep.
You ready?
Yep. Good to go there. We'll just have to turn it to match with the shaft as we go through. Yeah. All right, we got the slip clutch installed. Now we need to get the shaft back in, line it up. Ready, Grant?
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, it's going.
Brand new, guys, and Fridays.
The head's put back together and 2 major pieces fixed. Now it's time to work on the combine, and Grant's going on a parts run.
Okay, so we've got our entire parts list. It's like 18 pages. We're not doing everything though, but we've got most of our parts ordered. Biggest one is this unload auger, so I'm gonna get the trailer. It is super nice learning all this with Bryce, kind of watching him do it, helping him a little bit, even though I'm not that much of a help and not much of a mechanic at all, but it's kind of cool learning all this stuff. Okay, should be good to go. Like I said previously, the feeder house was in major need of repair. Me and Spencer, last season before harvest, we kind of just like spot welded some of the like cracks or rips in the feeder house floors.
And that's kind of how we got it to turn out. So it's much smoother now when you run your hand across it, like before you go and then hit a big bump. So that's kind of what was happening with this one. And then also there's some cracks on the drum. So I think the fear is you have it too low, it hits that lip and this whole drum shatters. You can't see any cracks right now, but once you spin it around, you can.
So the whole feeder house floor got replaced. The whole feeder house drum did. All the sprockets, all the chains, like everything. I think I ended up spending like 14 or 15 grand just on the feeder house alone, but there's still more stuff, and so some of the little more easier stuff we're kind of just doing with Bryce, and it works awesome. Everything's loaded down. We should be good to go. We were unsure of one of the parts as the tag was missing, but I'm pretty sure we got the right unload auger.
All right, Grant just went and got a couple augers, some other parts. Bryce got the auger off there, so we'll get that down, put new ones in. This one's really thin and worn out. This right here, so the corn, it's probably lifted, some of it's coming off the side. Then here's the new one, so much thicker, and then it's even. You saw how it was wavy. So that's the auger that you see the grain pile of the corn on top of the hopper. So this is the new one, it's way thicker. We don't have those, it's cracked and torn. Just the chute wears out.
Yeah, no hole there.
Yeah, no hole on the side. Yeah, compare that to. There you go.
You ever drop stuff down the combine and then when it's fired up, it goes up the auger?
This is the upper sprocket on the clean grain elevator. So you can see all that is carved out. The bottom one wasn't as bad.
Yeah, so like if your chain wears out and you don't have to do anything with your sprockets and you're just replacing your chain,
Just do this.
you hook it. You hook the new one to the old one,
Send it up.
and then you pull it all the way through.
Oh, gotcha,
And then it'll thread itself.
Yep,
back.
yep. Yep.
Actually gonna come fast pretty soon.
All right.
You're right. Yep. So it's a new gathering chain, old one's out, and we gotta somehow fish it up to the top. All right, I got it. It's on, yeah, you only got like another foot or two till it's off the ground. Yeah. 3 more panels hanging. Shit.
Now the unloading auger is worn out and needs replaced, as well as it's not timed correctly with the vertical auger. So someone must have replaced that years back, but not the unloading auger.
Now you're gonna start and raise it up. Yep, keep going. There you go. Now it's back up. Oh, pretty good. Yep. Alright. Go ahead with it now. Going? Yep.
Alright, we got the last big part here. It's the unloading auger. And we ordered the wrong part, so this is, we had to postpone our work for like a day. So it was nice they got it in. The one we accidentally ordered was 2 or 3 feet too short. So this is the right one. Put it in. We'll be good to go. Bryce got the combine backed out and we'll put it in on the outside.
Yep, that end's gotta go in first. Alright, that'll be good.
Brakes are a little different.
Yeah, it takes, basically you gotta stomp on them to get them to go. Alright. Oh, raise it up. Alright, go. Go up some more.
Up?
Yep. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Alright, now go in. Go to your right a little bit.
Yep.
There you go. Alright. Let it down some.
Down.
Alright. Alrighty.
Alright, back it up.
Now we got Grant's combine all put back together and we'll be ready for harvest when it rolls around. Now we're super thankful for Bryce's help here as he made things go by at least twice as fast and we made sure everything was installed correctly. Grant and I probably would have put things on backwards and had to second guess ourselves the whole entire time over and over. As this is a pretty big project, we aren't super familiar with combines, so knocking this out with 3 days with Bryce was huge. And I probably only got some of this on camera. We did a lot of stuff off camera and a lot of little things with these combines. After the first cut and interseeding, we let Mother Nature do its thing, and we're back here about 40 days later in late July to get our second cutting of hay. We got great weather with alfalfa that was there, really started to take off, and the new seeding is just starting to pop through and showing in the bare spots. The drill was 7-inch spacing, and on this line you can see a bit of the versagrass with the alfalfa, which is awesome to see. Now doing the first cut so early, the oats had enough energy to come back a second time. We also had some weeds in the field, but all in all, I'm really happy with how this has come together and excited for next year when my knee is healthy and I can square bale the whole field. It's now time for second cut before the oats start to dry down and lose its green.
The alfalfa in spots is about knee high. It's not blooming or anything yet, and we could probably wait another week or two on the alfalfa, but I want to get the oats while they're still green, but it looks like they're in the milk stage. You can see that. Anyway, the first time we came and cut these, we cut them too early. We should have waited longer, but I saw a nice window and it looked like it was going to rain a bunch, and I got a little antsy, so in hindsight, we should have waited a little longer. For the oats came back. We cut them too early, so the ones that we did cut had enough steam, enough energy to go ahead again, and then some were still behind. There's a little bit of weeds in here too. I haven't sprayed it or anything, obviously, with the oats as the nurse crop.
Now this isn't my tractor or mower that we're using here. Grant bought this 4020 about a week ago, and it's got the power shift transmission and side console. He always said if one came up with all those features in good condition for a reasonable price that he'd buy it. So we hauled it home the other day, and the disc mower is a neighbor's, and I'm borrowing it for this cut, and I found out it works a lot better than the sickle bar.
So we can see our new seeding of alfalfa that we did, which is awesome to see. And this is just a random spot, we can see it now. But there's new growth underneath here, so I want to give this a shot. We aren't even cutting it off yet. And this is what I'm talking about. This is us coming in with the no-till drill, no-till seeder. And anything that's vertical, that's the seeder coming through. Like, that's new growth. All this is new growth. Then you can see the grass in there too. So, see that line? And another line. That stuff should really start taking off. We got Grant in the tractor. My knee's still pretty bad. Fortunately, that's a power shift, so I should be able to run it just fine. But I think he wouldn't need any excuse to run his new tractor he just bought. Waiting for the dew to cook off. We'll go run and knock out a short waterway. This is mowing really good. It's 7 feet long. It's a John Deere 265 disc mower. And then the yellow there, I think that's from the orange, that's from the rust from the oats.
And no matter how thick the grass is, it seems to lay it down just fine. Here we came back for the 4-acre triangle that we couldn't get last time.
I got the 2 hay racks hauled up here, and I mentioned in one of my last videos that the dually got stolen. It did. It was last fall. It's July now, and I got it back. So I'll have a whole story and video kind of going over that whole situation. This hay rack, we should be able to comfortably fit 250. You could probably squeeze 300 if you go like 6 or 7 high. And then the little one back there, we can get 150 on there. This is 9 foot wide, so you can fit a lot more bales side to side, and then it's 21, 22 feet long. Pretty heavy duty, made out of steel I-beams, and it's in hydrous tank gear. The neighbor Luke is here tedding. It's about 11 o'clock. He's using a Vermeer tedder, and it's like 4,000 John Deere. So the idea behind a tedder is you can see it picks it up and then throws it up in the air and fluffs it up. We're kind of missing some sun right now. Sun's been blocked by clouds all morning. There was a little bit of dew, so I think we're about perfect time where the alfalfa leaves won't come off as bad. Nothing's ever perfect, but that is the idea. Flying the drone, had it time lapsing, and it runs out of battery and lands itself on the hay rack. The remote's right there. I totally forgot about it. That's so nice. It can land itself anywhere.
Now this here is the middle of the soybean field where the waterway is, and you can see what the beans look like now in the middle of the summer. They're just about at full canopy here, and I'd say they're looking pretty good.
Gotta go really slow. Really slow on the edges. It'll throw it out.
And like here's a good example of, we had pretty heavy dew last night this morning and we drove over it. It flips it over real nice and airs it up. We have, now it's perfect conditions. We got like 50-mile-an-hour winds, sunny out. We'll have them round bale some of the grass here. There's quite a bit of weeds in it. I might come square bale some. It's the next morning. It was pretty foggy and dewy, so we're kind of waiting for that to get cooked off. And I bought a moisture tester. So we packed a bunch of hay in there real tight, 5-gallon pail, simulate a bale. Looks like we're at 29%. We'll let it sit there for a couple more minutes, get it to adjust. But that's probably the best test we can do without making a bale. Sun's just coming out, wind's blowing. This will dry down. My understanding is you want at most 20%. And it'll be nice to have that tester, because then I'll understand, like, I understand what dry is, but from the touch sometimes if it's iffy. Borrowing the same rake we used last time. It's a neighbor's 4-wheel rake, and then we're gonna use Grant's tractor. ways with my knee, the power shift. Don't have to use my leg, don't have to use the clutch. Got the 10 acres raked, now we're over on the 5. This should be dry, but still a little damp. The wind isn't, on this side, the wind isn't blowing.
Everything's raked up in windrows. It's about 3 in the afternoon now, and the sun's been out for a few hours. This is really my first time working with alfalfa, as the first cut was mainly just oats. We're hooked up to the baler, followed behind with the big rack.
They say 18 to 20 is your max. Pump out a couple bales and see what the difference is.
Okay, 18.5.
And curious to see how much we get per acre. This will be a lot easier to measure. I know this field's 5, that field's like 10 and a half. Same thing as last time. I'm gonna be in the tractor. Grant and Josie are gonna be on the back. I still have a bad knee. I can walk around, but I can't move too good.
Ready to roll. If this isn't all the way turning black, dark gray, we got an issue.
That little wheel.
Well, that didn't work out, and here I am explaining that the bales we were making are reading 35% on the moisture tester, and they weighed 100 pounds each. I then had the smart idea to combine the windrows in hopes that by the time I was done doing that, they would be dried down enough, even though it was 85% humidity and partly cloudy now.
I ended up going back over everything, doubling up the rows, and it was just way too wet. So sun's out, it's not perfectly sunny, there's a little bit of clouds.
Now I hooked back up to the baler and gave it a second shot here. So that was a learning lesson for me, and the hay didn't dry down anymore after re-raking it and putting it in windrows. It was just too wet and the baler didn't like it. So we ended up having to hit the windrow with the tedder to spread it back out, and then the next morning we came when the dew was off to re-rake it all and hope that it was dry enough. Because coming quick that evening, we have thunderstorms rolling in. So I was pretty bummed out and didn't record any of it, so we'll skip to the next day baling.
All right, we're going good now. The hay's all dry and everything. I didn't get the first part because we just went. Neighbors round baling right now too, all the stuff we aren't gonna be able to fit. It ended up dry and nice. We have like a thunderstorm all tonight, like 100% chance of rain.
We had an issue with one of the knotters on the square baler, but thankfully our neighbor who was round baling was just about to leave when that happened, and he finished up the rest of the field before the rain was coming. On our way home, we went through a torrential downpour, but at least we were lucky to have the hay on the rack. Only the outside bales got wet, and I was able to pull it out the next couple days when the sun came out. Now I got to return some of the equipment that we borrowed and count our bales. This rake isn't mine. I'm borrowing it from a neighbor's, and then also the mower and the tedder, all those things I borrowed, which is really nice. It's been super handy and very fortunate that I'm able to borrow this stuff, because right now I'm just figuring out what type of equipment I need, mainly for next year when I'm ready to go. And it was super handy to have Mark the neighbor come and round bale this, so kind of saved my butt twice now, round baling right before the rain comes. Now it's 3 days after baling, and we got like 4 to 5 inches of rain after we baled, so we got really lucky. We got out of there and the hay dried down when it did, so letting these bales sweat that off a little bit here. These are 5 foot by 5 foot round bales. I think that's like 1,300 to 1,500 pounds. So we made 21 round bales. About 8 or 9 of those are going to be grass, 10, and then 11 will be the oats and alfalfa. I'm on the 10 acres here. So we had to quit square baling because when I tied a knot on to a new string or roll, it plugged up, which was actually very fortunate because it downpoured like an hour later. So Bryce knows how to fix it, the neighbor here.
Pop it up and...
So it's something super simple you can do.
Yeah, you just gotta get that knot to work off of because the bill hook. Really, what you got is you just got a bunch of knots here.
Well, when that happens again, it should be an easy fix. I'll know what to do. Grab a flathead screwdriver, slide the knot off the bill hook and all the other stuff that's tangled up, and it'll start tying again. Pretty simple. All in all, made a lot of mistakes, learned a lot of lessons, and I'm excited to see how this grows, if it chokes at all the weeds, and how much alfalfa we can get. And obviously I couldn't have done anything in this video without my family's help and also neighbors lending a hand. I should be 100% ready to go by next spring, and I'm just getting back into the swing of things for this fall and harvest. I had a big knee surgery at the end of May, so we're just recovering from that. It's now early fall, and the soybeans we planted this spring are starting to dry down and about ready to harvest. And like always, I'll include the expenses and revenue of growing 30 acres of soybeans and see if we made a profit or a loss. And these are the steps we took to get to this point. First, last fall after corn harvest, we did a light disc pass to help size up some of the residue and speed up the breakdown. And then we planted right into that the following spring, April 13th, which is pretty early in our region, and this is how it took off growing. Now here's the soybeans that are just coming out. These were planted 2 weeks ago. Yeah, they're just coming out. Certain spots where there's not as much residue, or they weren't as deep, they're poking through. This field will be all soybeans, so a lot of residue they have to push through yet. Now this picture here is 1 month exactly after planting. It for sure had a slow start with colder soil temps as we planted so early. The risk is the seed doesn't have enough energy if we get another hard freeze, or the leaf starts coming up here and we get a really hard freeze and kills it off. But thankfully none of that happened, and it continued to grow from here. Now like I said, we got a lot of rain with 8 inches up to this point in early May. We have some drowned out spots for sure, and some spots that aren't going to grow at all. Now the month of May and June in total came to just around 13 inches of rain, but thankfully they were spread out and we didn't get bad floods like other parts of the Midwest. Now in soybeans, weeds can be a big issue, so we put down a pre-emerge pass, and this here is the post-emerge pass in June. And by the end of June, the canopy was starting to close here, and this is mid-July. Things really took off. The canopy is fully closed here, and you can see some side hill seeps areas on the drone. Now every time I walk up those side hills or when we were pulling the sprayer through it, it was really wet when everything else was dry. Now what's happening is water is soaking in through the hilltop and then seeping out the side hill, and that's where you can see the area that's wet and the growth is stunted. We did have a guy come out with a drone, and we did one application of fungicide as well. Now in total, we got 28 inches from the day of planting to the day of harvest, which is above average. And now it's September, the leaves have dropped, and this is what the soybeans look like before harvest. This is what the bean field looks like now. All the leaves are on the ground. All those green leaves that you saw earlier, those are right here, fell off. And then now you can crack these open real easy. It's not green anymore, it's dry, somewhat dry. There's a bit of weeds in this field too, and then some grass took over right there, some over here, and there's some other spots that there's some decent amount of weed pressure in here. But there are a lot of 4 bean pods like right here. But we got some rain a few days ago, and now these are just probably drying out here. Grant's on his way with the combine. I got the wagons here, and we'll just kind of dive into this field and just make sure the combine, yield monitor, all that stuff is working right.
We're getting started, letting everything load up. Got climate field view. Climate field view is all set up. Green stars loading up. Got some fuel in her. This gauge is very messy. We need to fix that at some point. Josh riding with me here. Josh is the Pioneer seed salesman, seed dealer. Okay, here we go. Harvest. Here we go.
So it begins.
Yep. Should be good. Cover down there? Or mine just...
Oh, it feels like you would want that covered. Feels a little more vibrations than I'm usually feeling, but
yeah.
Oh, this was the replant?
Yeah, this was the replant, and
this might be an ignorant thing, but it could have been.
Okay, so we're gonna see how many we're throwing out the back. The one thing, the combine, when I ran the header, it was shaking. It shakes a lot more shake than I'm used to, so maybe that's something to do with the feeder house. But how many beans are we throwing out? A lot. 5 in a square foot, which 5 in a square foot is like 1.2 bushels or something like that.
So it really doesn't look too bad.
Yeah. Boy, these beans are bigger than what I was finding out there. These are actually, like, this bean's pretty big. That bean's pretty small. 1, 2, Okay, we didn't see really enough to make like a major adjustment. We're gonna leave the settings how they are. I kind of got them set right in the middle, and then we'll keep going. Once we get into some better beans, go faster, but everything's looking decent out there, so. Okay, so we're unloading in the seed tender, and then Josh has a scale on there, and he's gonna run that scale against what I have on the yield monitor, and we're gonna make some adjustments to the yield monitor.
That's how much we weighed right there, so we'll see how much we were off. You only have to do this one time, then you're set for the rest of the year, at least for soybean. And then now we'll know exactly what we're yielding in the field.
So the combine is shaking like crazy right now, and so it's only when I run the header. When I run the separator, it doesn't shake like crazy. It's something that's different that I'm not used to. So we dropped off the header, unhooked the header. Now I'm going to run the combine, and we're going to run the feeder house and see if it's either the feeder house or the header that's making all this like shake in the combine. I mean, it is crazy. It's shaking the whole window off and then shaking this off. I'm not used to it at all. So here we go. Definitely the header. This is not shaking nearly as bad. I mean, this isn't shaking. This isn't shaking. It's definitely the header that's causing the shake. So me and Spence made some adjustments to the header here, and that's got to be what's causing the shake, is our adjustments to that header.
Pretty loose. We probably should have tightened that the other day. So then if we tighten this, we'll send it down. Right? No. If we... Now, there's play in there, but not a crazy amount. And this plastic glide, it's not rubbing on it. So now, this is the auger, and we want to adjust it, and we want to raise it up. The other day we raised it too far down, and that's why it's getting some slop. This should be pulling it up. All right, we made the adjustments. It should be balanced now, and hopefully it stops bouncing everywhere. Josh is heading out.
We got the yield monitor dialed in and moisture is perfect at around 12%. Yields are ranging from 50 to 90 bushels per acre in the bad and the good spots. Now we'll see what we can get done.
My father is a betting man, but I got myself a steady hand. He's sitting in the corner with a six-pack of Corona, betting that his son will win again. Bet another six-pack, bet I make a comeback. I know that this table's gotta lean. Won't you take me fishing, and I wanna try out for the 7th grade football team. You'll probably be nothing but this town's old drunkard and die on a smoke-stained stool. But right now he's got a bargain that he's taking too far on his boys' game of 9-ball pool. My father was a betting man, but I got myself a steady hand. He's sitting in the corner with a six-pack of Corona, betting that his son will win again. My father was a betting man. Father was a betting man, but I got myself a steady hand.
So on the ticket there, the last one was 10.5%. So we started the day off at 12.5, and things just get drier and drier throughout the day. So it's good that we're stopping, and then tomorrow morning should be a little more damp. It's the next morning. Grant's gonna bring in this 500 bushel wagon, and then two of our wagons should be good for the day. Here's one of these. It's kind of hard to tell from the camera, but the beans are very small, and these are one of the spots I was showing you on the drone where all that vegetation wasn't there and the beans were way shorter. So it's interesting. We haven't fully figured it out. We think some of it's side hill seep, and then some of it's just...
This is the last day as we're finishing up the field here. It took us a total of 4 separate days to harvest the whole entire 65-acre field. And that's mainly because we have to wait till noon for the dew to burn off, and then we end around 5 p.m. as the soybeans start to dry down pretty quick, and we had some hot, windy days. Every percent of moisture that drops, you're missing out on potential yield, as you get paid on weight, and water is part of that weight. So we always like to end early, as you're kind of losing money the later you go into the day. And like I said, keep in mind my field is the 30 acres, and so we combined Grant's 35 acres together, so it's one field. It might look a little different than last year, as when I was corn we had the field separated by a fence row. And while most of the time Grant ran the combine, I hauled the loads into town.
Okay, me and Spencer did some totaling based off the scale tickets. It yielded above expectations, 71.3 bushels an acre so far. Now there's 1 acre of replant stuff that'll probably yield like 40 or 50 bushel that we're gonna go back in 2 weeks. So really it probably yield like 70 or 69 or something like that.
Now this is the fun part, always to jump back on the computer and check out the field, what it looked like. This is the yield map that we have in the combine on an iPad. So as we're going throughout the field, this is starting to colorize. Dark green is 70 bushels or greater. The worst yielding spots right here, wet area. This is a wet side hill area. Same here, we can see all our side hill seeps we were talking about. This is literally nothing grew here. So some of this is 0 bushel along the tree line. And this is kind of side hill eroded area. For fun, we can make some drawings real quick. And this is probably a good spot to draw. Our yield monitor should have been dialed in. Just about 1 acre that we highlighted. See, here's what's really important is our moisture. We had 10.7%. The closer to 13, the better. And then in that area we highlighted, we did 80 bushels to the acre. So that's pretty cool. And then we'll grab a bad spot. Let's say right here. I know right here for sure is a wet spot. Like this is good dirt. There's nothing wrong with it. But I just know it sits wet. And so in contrast, that dropped it down to 65 bushels. There's way worse areas than that for sure. But just shows you a difference. So extremely happy with the yields. I was expecting somewhere around 60, and for all the crazy rain we got this spring and flood spots, and then it actually got somewhat dry in August. Not that bad, not complaining at all, but I would say with everything, super happy with the yields. Now money wise, where does that put us for soybean revenue? First, here I pulled up a 4-year price chart of soybean futures with them peaking out in this 4-year window of spring of 22. And ever since they've come down. Currently we're sitting at a 4-year low. Now since I don't have grain bins, everything that we harvest we are going to sell. We can't store any of it for the future. Now thankfully back in May I made a sale here. It was 700 bushels and the price was $11.58 or $8,000 worth. Now from May of this year prices have come down about to $9.60 what I sold at harvest, or a decrease of around 18%. Here's our total acres of soybeans, 30. That brings us to a total of 2,000 bushels, and that's 70 bushels per acre. And we ended up getting an average price of $10.75. That brought our total revenue to $22,182. Now it's time to mow the waterways, harvest some of the ponded areas that we couldn't get to earlier, and clean up the equipment.
Now it's 10 days after we harvested the field. We're gonna go get a few drowned out spots. It'll be like 50 bushel or 100 bushel of soybeans. So thankfully I only had a few little small drown out spots in the field like this. The beans were way too green and now they're brown and they'll crack open. So Grant's gonna slug through it. Obviously a lot of weeds in here, water hemp and stuff. That spot yield
13.9 bushels per acre, baby.
That was actually pretty good. This is what Grant's looks like. So all this water couldn't have escaped. It sat here, killed everything off, and then he went and reseeded after, replanted. So this is about an acre, and there's a bit more beans in here. It should yield better, but it looks like the weeds are a little heavier too. Grant made a few adjustments on the combine, so we're gonna throw a bit more beans out the back, but should be able to get a cleaner sample. But there's actually quite a bit more beans in here than mine by far. Trains going by. It's pretty cool down here. There goes a pheasant. We got some, there's a CRP buffer strip. So it looks like Grant's spooking quite a bit of pheasants hanging out in this little patch. It does look like down here in the wettest spot, there's literally no beans. It totally drowned out for a second time. So the thing about this weed, water hemp, is all these are seeds. So when somebody bumps it, I just hit that. Now there's, I mean, you could just see the bare dirt's covered in seeds from the wind. Yeah, there's nothing to combine here. There was a little bit down there, nothing here.
After the soybeans, we ended up harvesting Grant's 80-acre cornfield not too far away. We then got everything put away and cleaned up for the winter. Now, most of the actual soybean harvest run the combine is on Grant's channel, and his corn harvest is there as well. Now, all in all, super happy with the yields, can't complain, and we'll be rotating into corn next year on this 30-acre field. Our 15 acres of alfalfa is ready for its third and final cutting. The first two cuttings we made primarily round bales, and now the oats are gone, so it's purely alfalfa. The goal is to make high-quality square bales. Now we're starting to open up the 5-acre field here. I'm happy with the stand. There's a few spots, unfortunately, that drowned out next to the trees, and a bit of foxtail grew up. But in general, there's minimal weeds in the field and a good crop for third cutting alfalfa. The mower's cutting good, and since the field is smooth, we're able to get into 6th gear.
All right, it's cutting pretty good. I'm running over a little bit right here, just barely, not terrible. There's some spots that are a little lighter down there. It's a little thicker. Still got 4 or 5 inches there, so we aren't cutting super low.
got done with the 5-acre field and now starting to open up the 10 acres. There is a noticeable difference here between the two fields in weed pressure from foxtail and some broadleafs. And so far, I haven't used any herbicides on this field to stop weeds, and the oats that we use as a nurse crop seem to help in keeping the pressure down. And hopefully coming in with this late third cutting will keep some of the weeds from growing into the winter, and we can get a good stand with a lot of alfalfa shading out any new weeds coming up here. Got the mower returned. It's now the next day. Unfortunately, we got a little bit of clouds in the sky and a super small chance of tiny bit of rain, which isn't a big deal. It's 30% humidity out, very windy, which is good. Here you can see the leaves are cupped and discolored. Flip it over, more green. This is my first time cutting this where, you know, 99% of this field is alfalfa. We cut this on Monday. Today's Tuesday afternoon, one day later. Tomorrow should be a really good drying day, Wednesday. And then I'll rake in the morning of Thursday and hopefully bale late Thursday afternoon is the plan. It's now Wednesday morning, 2 days after cutting it, and a little bit of dew this morning like always. Today should be a really good drying day. Yesterday wasn't as good as the weather said it was gonna be. There was a bit of cloud cover pretty much all day, but really low humidity, 30%. Today it should only get up to 40, 50%. And hoping this dries really good, then tomorrow morning I'll rake it up and we'll bale it hopefully tomorrow afternoon. This time I didn't ted the hay prior to raking, and now we're hoping that it'll be dry enough to bale right after we get done raking and in a windrow. I got my 40-20 hauled over to run the baler, and we got some good looking help again to stack as we go on the rack.
Throw them off? Oh yeah, just keep them there. We'll give the hay hook a go again. Oh God. This sucks! I'm just noticing they're heavier because it's alfalfa.
Yeah, I think they're...
But the size seems good.
Yeah, they don't look... That one's a little tight. It wouldn't be as heavy if we... I'll do a couple turns.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, it like doesn't hook in good.
Yeah, be like, Spencer needs to slow it down.
There's a snake! There's a snake! Yeah. It's over here.
Where?
It's in here, it's up here. Yeah, the bales are a lot lighter.
A lot lighter?
So I come back here to stack this bale on here, and there's something green. It looks like a leaf, like a long skinny leaf, and it just slithers into the crack of those two bales.
Alive,
it's alive.
It
It's lime green.
It probably slithered into the.
It slithered in there somewhere. I saw it.
Well, it won't get you.
Someone's gonna get a snake in their bale.
How's it going so far? Grant's not helping you. These bales are heavy.
It's not too bad. You made that adjustment, it helped. They're really not that bad. Yeah. We all know that I do most of the work around here too. Grant's just the second hand,
That's
so
right.
He's not that much help. See if I can get her on top of the 3 bales. Three layers. Okay, we got 4. Okay, Spencer's got the moisture tester out.
Much higher than I would have assumed.
Well, it'll go down.
Yeah, I think it is. I want it to be under 20%.
Under 20, yeah.
These are the outside ones. Yeah, it got a little humid too. The sun's kind of going around.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's much lower.
Yeah. There's no reason why these should be over 20. So,
yeah, it is getting pretty humid. I don't feel like they're that heavy though, like full of moisture.
No.
That one time they were outrageously heavy. I don't know if I trust that moisture tester thing.
There's 17.
I think we're good.
Yeah, this stuff is dry. There is no, look at all the leaves coming off. There's no moisture in here.
Yeah, I don't know about these hay hooks. I feel like I'm just gonna stab myself. Maybe the longer one will be better.
And then pull it.
Yeah, maybe the longer will be better. Oh yeah, actually the longer one is way better. Okay, let's get this up there. Oh, that's way better. Oh, I didn't get that one hooked very well.
Josie's doing a good job. Grant should be here any minute. Going second gear. The alfalfa's totally dry, but the sun's set, so we'll see what we can get done today.
Your string, it's dragging on the ground right
So
here.
it broke. It came to a knot. I think we're good. I think you're gonna have one that busted.
Okay.
And
then it'll
I think
catch.
It's still going, I hope.
And we stopped and tried to look for it, but we couldn't find it. So, are you scared of snakes?
I don't mind them if I know where they're at. Spencer's a little toy farm out here.
Yep.
She has manure pile as excavator.
Yeah, I could smell it when we came around that corner.
How high does he go? Do you go one more? I don't think you
I
go.
think we've done one more.
Gotcha.
Hang on.
What are the bales testing at for moisture?
Like 17, 18.
Some people forget it's a Thursday.
So it's got to work real jobs around here. I guess that's just me.
Or yeah, you can throw it that way. Sorry.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a lot of hay. Well,
Okay. So this is like the end of it or something?
Yeah.
Take this all the way out.
Yeah. Cut that right there. So on this, you want this off what specifically?
Take the twine off of this hole.
I need the knot off that thing right there. We had an issue with the yarn and stuff. Got it all figured out. Hopefully it'll work. The knotter. It was my fault. It wasn't the machine's.
We got to get it reattached onto there.
It'll do it.
It'll do it on its own. Okay. Throw them off? Oh yeah, just keep them there.
So I'm in second gear here, full throttle. And then if I go third gear, it's way too heavy of bales for them. I need to just putz in second, but it'll take all days. At least we're learning a lot here. First time doing alfalfa, pure alfalfa. All right, how's it going, everybody?
It's going wonderful.
Good. We forgot our bale stacking rotation. We screwed up, so we had to redo our entire pile.
This is a 9-foot wide deck, so this is like a gooseneck deck.
Six. You have to have six.
Yep.
Six bales,
wide,
basically.
yeah.
Sunset, no wind. These windrows are probably gonna be catching moisture. The only problem is tomorrow's gonna be super cloudy. Tomorrow there's a 25% chance of rain too. I mean, who knows if it happens, but it says 25%. Yeah, we'll turn the light on. I actually think some of my lights are out.
Once we got the baler tying good, it was late and the sun was starting to set. Bales got heavier as the humidity picked up, and I should have called it quits earlier. But at least on the bright side, I found a problem with the baler. And after looking at what happened, it seems the baler's out of time and we broke a shear bolt. I'll have to deal with it in the morning.
All right, it's the next day. Been messing with this, so we broke a shear pin there. What happened was somehow the baler got out of time. And this is like a safety mechanism. The stopper will come out. So when the plunger wheel, whatever you call it, flywheel comes around, it'll hit this, slam the brakes, so then you don't screw up these needles that come underneath here and make your tie and your knot and all that. You don't want metal on metal car crash. So that's what happened. But why did it get out of timing? We weren't doing anything. So we spent the last hour trying to figure out timing. We don't know where we're at, but we're to the point where we think we got it somewhat changed and we're gonna run it.
Try it. So now we need the alfalfa to go into the baler for it to suck up and cycle all the way through. There it goes. It's going. It's going.
The needle's going up?
Yep.
There I always hit.
Oh. Jesus, are you okay?
Yeah, it should have tied it up.
I think it did right there, right?
Yeah.
Right, like is that?
Yeah.
Not in there?
Yeah.
And then, down there. This did not go back up. Is this supposed to go back up?
Now
not yet.
it'll
Okay.
go ting, ting, ting,
Okay.
ting.
Okay. Gotcha. Yep.
Here's the 5 acres. We got a windroad and we got a breeze, thankfully. So this stuff should dry. The top's starting to brown, which is perfect. Come underneath and you flip it over. It's more green. We'll probably start baling in an hour. Waiting for help to arrive. Grant's always late, isn't
Yep. Never on time.
Hey guys, it's Grant and Josie. By the way, if you guys need to sell any equipment and you're located in Iowa, check out Siren Auction Sales. Got a cool sweatshirt from him. He helped in a farm sim video when we role-played a real-life auction. It's kind of cool and stuff. So Riley Siren, if you need to sell anything, great auctioneer, does equipment and land.
Pretty sure this is a t-shirt, not a sweatshirt, but yeah.
They call it sweatshirt?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I have never bailed on this field over here, so.
It's so much smoother, so much smoother. Don't tell him that though, because it'll go faster.
Yeah. We gotta beat the rain. Why does it always rain when we have to bale hay?
I don't know. Yeah, problem with being a little smaller is like that. See how that's not even like, the bottom one's not supporting.
Yeah.
That's something I should probably just
Maybe pull it out a little.
I think we'll easily be able to fit all this on.
8 acres to go?
5.
5?
4.
Oh, it's 4?
Yeah.
4 acres to go.
Once he looks back.
It's a rail.
Well, Josie, I don't know if we can fit.
What happened here? Yeah, we got.
Maybe once we get to the, it's because those bales got bigger.
Yeah.
Once we get to the top, we can just do 5.
That's fine.
Put a 6 on the bottom, and then that way it peaks in a little bit.
Whatever works.
I can do that.
Okay.
Too.
Hang on. Well, for once, something went smoothly today.
Yeah.
The ropes changed correctly.
Oh, really?
The ropes tied together right. We're on to blue. Hang on. Sorry. Then let's do 2 more horizontal.
2 horizontal here?
Yeah, I think so.
What about 4 horizontal?
Oh, yeah, 4.
Just, so we got 6. Okay, yeah. How you doing? When are you guys gonna start harvesting?
Probably next week.
Okay. Those beans are probably ready, aren't they? They got that. Did you see that wagon full? Yeah. So we got that wagon full, and then we have what? 3 more passes, Josie?
1, 2, 5. What grade are you in? 5th. Nice.
Do you square bale a lot?
No.
Have you ever?
No.
So we got a new guest aboard the Hilbert baling team. We got Cade here. So Cade's gonna help us bale here. Here, I'll let you stack it if you got it.
Put it right here.
There.
There you go. Right here.
All right.
Nice job. Just put it straight on right there. Just like this.
He needs to make them lighter.
I know.
I think these should come in lighter, shouldn't they?
Well, it's telling me to take a few.
Gotcha. Oh, there we go. They're getting lighter.
Ready?
Yeah, they're getting lighter. That's like perfect. There you go. There you go.
A little more lead you find.
What?
A little more lead you find.
Where'd you get the Crocs at?
For Christmas.
Gotcha. So how many bales did you guys make when it was you?
Is there a creek behind there?
Yeah, it's a small one. It's that one that runs up along the railroad back there.
Oh.
We got 2 hay racks full thanks to everybody's help, and now it's time to get them under roof before it starts to rain. bales turned out good in my opinion, with lots of leaves on the stem. They all read below 20% moisture, and I'm new to this moisture tester, but it seems like 2 bales right next to each other can vary by 5% depending on how tight the bales are. The tighter the bales, the wetter it read, and vice versa. If anybody has a trick on these, let me know. Now, this is my first experience making purely alfalfa bales, and I realize it's better to set tension lower than you think because they pack super heavy compared to grass hay or straw or anything light like that. I made a decent amount of bales that were pretty heavy and just needed to loosen up the tension on them. A week went by and I started to get the first rack sold, selling for $9 to $10 a bale depending on quantity bought. And a couple weeks later, after most of the corn was out, we made some small corn stalk bales to trade to the neighbors for the manure we used.
We're going to be baling some corn stalks here. We'll see how many we make. They heavy? Oh, they're pretty good. What happened? Clogged up. Okay, we got her clogged up. We made probably 100 so far, and yeah, everything's working good, so.
I can run it into the...
No, it's all good. You guys ready?
Last time we did this, there was a snake. Did you see that part?
Yeah.
There was a snake in one of the bales. That scared me.
We had a snake in the bale.
Yeah.
But it was dead.
Was it? Yeah. That's cool.
So I've been entering I only entered one rodeo.
So you do that at the fair? The county fair?
Dayton Rodeo.
All right, we're gonna unload the rack here. We got a elevator.
At one point, this barn wasn't here. This wall, this door wasn't here. Gotcha. This was the back wall.
We'll let Josie catch up.
Uh-oh.
Belt slip. Push, Josie, the bottom wheel, just push it forward like that, real quick. There you go. One at a time. Yeah.
Okay.
Or 2 light ones. I don't know.
We got all the bales stacked, and now here's what the field looks like up to date a few months later in December. Recently we've got a dusting of snow, and we got just about 8 inches of frost in the ground, which is pretty good to see, and that'll help break up some of the compaction over this winter. The good thing is the alfalfa got plenty of GDUs after our last cutting and should yield good for next year with the boost from manure. Right now we're really cold, and hopefully we get some more moisture from snow. Alfalfa is a perennial, so it will grow back next year. Right now it looks pretty sad with all the leaves dropped. One thing that could happen is we get a really nasty cold spell of -20, -10 for a few weeks, and there's no snow to insulate it. And I think you can have some alfalfa die off from a really hard winter. So we'll see what it's like next year. This is my first time ever doing alfalfa, so learning a lot. Now we're going to talk about farm income and YouTube income. But before we jump into the numbers, one last shout out to American Farming. I know I've talked about it a bunch, but Grant and the team at Squad Built are super excited about their new updates coming out. Like, for example, New Holland is going to be added to the game. You can use the link in the description or scan this QR code on the screen to download American Farming. And when I talk about this stuff, financials, I love to talk about it. but I want to get across that I am never trying to brag, never trying to showboat. The YouTube income for the year 2024 is going to be a lot more than I would have ever guessed or imagined. And so I just want that disclaimer out there that none of this is trying to showboat or show off. I am trying to maybe help a younger person get inspired, motivated. And one of the things I really believe it's super important to talk about financials. Nobody has to, but if you're willing to, like I am, I think it helps a lot of people who maybe don't hear this kind of stuff or aren't exposed to it day to day, and I think it can help in a bunch of different ways. And that's the main reason why I'm including these financials and showing my personal details and income in these types of videos. Now we're gonna look at the farm income here. We're just gonna look at this 30 acres of soybeans we planted. We're gonna ignore the oats and alfalfa. The reason why I'm doing that, year one, that was the established year, most of your cost for that is in seed, year one. So I wanna bring in year two next year, and we can look at that in a bigger picture. Once again, this is our 30 acres of beans. Our market price was $10.75 and our yield was 70 bushels to the acre. So first, here's our expense list and our cost per acre here. First big one is land. We have a big fat zero right there for now. We're gonna act like we own the land outright. And even if you own it outright, you're always gonna pay property taxes. So here's the $29 an acre for that. Here is our crop insurance, 12 bucks an acre. Seed came in at 65. We put some line down here this fall at $11 an acre. I made sure to do that before we put our alfalfa in because that's very important to balance our pH. Our fertilizer expense, spread that as well in the fall. Our herbicide applications here, fungicide here that comes in, applications included. That fall tillage pass at 10 bucks. And again, a lot of this stuff, 25 bucks for the planter. I don't own the equipment, so we're using custom ISU rates here. Spraying, 2 passes on the application, 12 bucks an acre. Borrowed Grant's combine as well, and his tractor and wagons. We had no drying expenses, no storage, and no tiles. So that brings our expense per acre at $350 per acre. And that was just cost of production. So again, if we own the land outright, which we do not, we have money borrowed on it. But if we did, that came our margin out to about $400 an acre. But that is not the case. We have borrowed money to purchase the land. And when you borrow money, you borrow with an interest rate attached to that. Our weighted average interest rate is 4%. And we're currently borrowing around $337,000. That brings our per acre cost of interest at 300 bucks per acre. So now once we include that $300 of interest expense, it brings our profit margin to $98 per acre on our 30 acres of soybeans. And that's a profit of $2,900. So good thing we yielded good and we locked in some of those higher prices. Now another thing I'm excluding is looking at our cash flow. We actually paid $265 this year per acre in equity down on the loan. And so now we can see our negative cash flow. Again, this is cash flow. This money right here is equity that I'm putting into the land. And now whenever I show these numbers, a small group of people comment saying I'm leaving out subsidies the government pays farmers for low grain prices. And that is not the truth. If I ever get some sort of subsidy or anything like that, I will be completely transparent, include that in here. That's literally the whole point of these videos. And currently there's a bill proposal in the works that may pay out farmers direct payments to offset the low grain prices. Now last I saw, it was like $40 or $50 for beans, and it was like $80 or $100 for corn. So take $50 times 30 acres, that would be $1,500. And I don't know if that bill is going to get passed or anything, but if I get paid out, I'll be sure to include it in the spreadsheet. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned is at the end of last year, there was some government money for beginning farmers, and I would have gotten around $10,000 if I applied for it. And my ego got in the way, and I was listening to the people who leave those comments, and I didn't apply for that money. I didn't go like through the process. So I don't know if I would have gotten it, but my understanding is my pay would have been somewhere around $10,000. And now a year later, in hindsight, I should have tried to get that money. Should have either donated it, went down to the soup line at the church, and just handed it out and made an awesome YouTube video just handing out money. But like I said, my ego got in the way, and I listened to those people who comment that stuff, so I didn't go after it. And so that's how we ended up on our 30 acres of soybeans this year. Pretty cool to see all the numbers come together and see how they compare from year to year. And so now we're done with farm income, and we'll look at YouTube. This number in 2024 is a lot bigger than I expected. So I started the channel in 2023, and here's what the earnings look like that first year. You can see most of it is actually in December of 2023. We made a total of $23,500. So keep in mind, this is all pre-tax. We have to pay some income tax on this. And then as well, I have expenses. The camera I'm recording this on, the computer I edit the videos on, and all that kind of stuff. So now in 2024, we brought in a total of $120,000 so far of ad revenue, which is pretty insane and way more than I ever expected. Now the context here is there's one video that's making $95,000 of that 120 for this year's channel revenue. And the video was, I spent 1 year farming from scratch. Pretty much the same video I'm making here. That video went absolutely viral. It currently has 7 million views and it made $14 per 1,000 views, or RPM. Now those numbers are crazy and way more than I ever expected. I'm super appreciative of all the people who have watched these videos. After expenses and paying taxes, I hope to reinvest these YouTube earnings back into the farm, hopefully in the future. One thing about YouTube or any online venture or business is nothing is ever guaranteed. And in my situation, it was a lot of work, but also some luck. The last 7-8 years, I've been learning how to run a channel, spent years slowly getting better and better. And the coolest part is anybody can do this, but not everybody can. It seems that those who think they can do something are typically right, and those who think they cannot do something are also right. Just wanted to add some context here, as $120,000 is a lot of money. And I'm super fortunate and lucky to live in a time where these opportunities like this exist, and also very fortunate and lucky to even have the ability to chase those opportunities in general in life. Now that's the total revenue that this channel brought in this year. I haven't done any paid sponsorships or anything like that. I would assume I'm missing out on $10,000 to $30,000 between like VPN companies, supplement companies, or just a bunch of like sponsorships you see on YouTube channels. They reach out and stuff. I guess that's about $20,000, $30,000 that I didn't take that I could have. And the whole idea behind that is I just want to make the best videos possible. If I do have a sponsorship video, it's going to be from a company that's like really important. I use their product or service. So I'm sure I'll have some in the future, but it'll just be of a company that I really think is good. And so that's it. That is year 2. That's everything that we did so far. Super excited for year 3 because right now my knee's about 80% to be fully healthy. It'll be probably 3 more months. And so I got some few things planned for next year. It was kind of tough this year to watch like my brother and Josie. They were helping me a bunch, and my dad and neighbors. And a lot of times I couldn't help, or like I could just watch. So that was kind of a bummer, but at least hopefully my knee is fixed for the future. It was pretty much one of those things where I needed a knee replacement at 23 years old. And so I did this surgery to hopefully buy me till I'm 80. I'll probably need another knee replacement. And then when I'm 70, I'll need another one. So it's just kind of one of those things. Thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate it. Check out Grant's game. I'll have a link in the description to American Farming there. He's been working really hard on that, making it the best he possibly can. So if you know somebody who's interested, or you are, I'll have a link in the description where you can download it, like on the App Store, Google Play Store. And I hope to have a lot more videos coming out in the future, post more often. Currently we're working on a drainage project, getting rid of some of those wet spots. One video I'm working on right now too is telling the story of how I got my truck stolen for months, and how I found it, got it back, all that kind of stuff. So the lessons learned on there are pretty big. So thank you guys for watching this video. Appreciate it a bunch, and I'll see you in the next one.